to the channel. We're starting a separate series called Rosetta Star on the channel. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask the question, did God open the door of revelation timing? And before I continue, just know that this study has been ongoing for the past couple of years. I have put an extensive amount of research, study, and to understand what I'm going to present to you. So let me start off also by saying no one knows the answer of whether or not God actually did provide revelation timing. But what I'm going to show you raises an amazing possibility that he just may have. The Bible is very, very clear that no one knows the day or hour of Jesus' return. That is a fact. This is found in Matthew 24:36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man. No, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So not even Jesus himself has information about the day of his return. This is very important because a lot of people claim that Jesus will return on a specific day. It's very important, and you'll see why, that God is not going to declare actually when Jesus will return. But Jesus' second coming, while the single most significant event in Revelation, is only one event out of approximately 150 individual events. Therefore, is it possible that we can know the timing of a significant number of these 150 events and still not know the timing of Jesus' return? And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? This is what Jesus' disciples were asking him in Matthew 24. Why is it okay for the disciples to ask when the end of the world will be, but not us? Why is there so much resistance in the world today to this very simple inquiry? Jesus didn't seem to have any issues or problems sharing not only what the sign would be, but far more than just their initial inquiry. Jesus talks for 972 out of the 1,075 words in Matthew 24, or 90% of the text. There are 30 events described in Matthew 24, of which verse 30 provides the specific answer to their question. So clearly, Jesus wants us to know these things. His return, specifically, may be a mystery or a riddle that only God the Father knows. But there's no question, it's obvious that he wants us to know beforehand and prepare for virtually everything else. 25% of the Bible contains end times related content. So this should technically mean, if you're a regular churchgoer, that one weekend out of every month or every fourth time that you attend church, or 25% of the time, they should be talking to you about end time events. But do they? Of course not. And also I want to mention, this isn't about end times. I do not like that term, end times. This is about Jesus's time. This is about a time to end injustice, deception, corruption, and spiritual manipulation, and begin or start a time of truth, righteousness, mercy, and unbiased justice under Christ's perfect reign, where peace prevails, happiness abounds, and the knowledge of God covers the earth. If 25% of the Bible deals with the transition from a fallen world run by dark forces in the heavenly realm to how the world was originally intended, with human freedom and open communion with God in the garden, why are the specific timing details of this transfer of power missing from the Bible? Well, that's obvious, because this is not going to be a peaceful transition of power. This is a war. Revelation is God's battle plan for reclaiming order on earth and in heaven. And in doing so, God has supernaturally shut the timing door to his adversaries. He's not going to telegraph exactly what he's going to do. Now, an example of how he's supernaturally doing this, we can see in the road to Emmaus, where two of Jesus' disciples walk with him, but they don't recognize him until later. In Luke 24, verse 16, it says, "But their eyes were holden that they should not know him." Now, just think about this just for a second. Just think about you happen to be walking down the street, and all of a sudden you ran into your husband or your wife or your father or mother, sister, brother, aunt, and you did not recognize them. And then later that evening, then all of a sudden you did recognize them. So it's this type of supernatural ability that God has that I believe that he's put on his adversaries to not telegraph to them exactly his plans. Think about, think about a football or any sporting event. You do not telegraph your plays what it is you're going to do to your adversary. And I believe that God's doing the exact same thing. Satan, along with other fallen angels, know their ultimate fate because they could just read about that in the Bible. We all know when you read Revelation how this ends for them. But what they don't know is precisely when it will happen. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. For those of us that have chosen to side with God in this war, might he open the door as we search out this matter to inform us and others when this war will begin and provide some event timing specifics so that we can prepare for battle. Well, he already has. Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. Revelation 12, verses 1 and 2. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. This is known as the Revelation 12 sign. The woman clothed with the sun is the constellation Virgo. It is the only woman in the constellation series that is a woman. This is an absolute impossibility that it would be confused with any other constellation. Along with that is this alignment of these traveling stars. The constellation Virgo, along with the constellation Leo, are fixed stars, and these traveling stars of Venus, Mars, Mercury, obviously the Sun, the Moon, and Jupiter, they are all in constant movement. So at a specific point in time, this specific alignment occurred. Now, you may think this alignment occurs quite often, and you would be wrong. This alignment has never occurred. Many have claimed that it occurs every couple hundred years. I've gone through personally and checked years that people have claimed that it's happened, and this exact alignment has not occurred then. And it's easy to go back and actually check because it takes Jupiter 11.8 years to make a complete orbit around the sun. In other words, Jupiter will only be in that orbit or in that position right? Once every basically 12 years. So you only need to look at about 9 times out of every century to see if this alignment has occurred. You can do this yourself. I'll show you exactly how to do it later. The point being is that when I personally went back and people that were claiming this alignment occurred, and I saw that it didn't, there's a lot of misinformation about this. There's also people that are saying that this occurs every 7,000 years. Well, per the technology that we actually have in a website that I'll show you, right, it only goes back the to the common area, or basically to year 00. So you can't go back. You can only look at the past 2,000 years. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. So do not be deceived from people that are saying that this alignment occurs quite often, because you yourself can check it and you'll find out that this alignment is extremely, extremely unique. So this constellation Virgo was clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and obviously Jupiter representing the her birth, or she's with child. Now, the crown of 12 stars happens to be the 9 stars of Leo, and then when these traveling stars of Venus, Mars, and Mercury came in alignment, then it gave the woman this crown of 12 stars. Now, you may be asking yourself, when did this occur, if it has occurred? Well, it occurred almost 8 years ago now. And those of us that study eschatology, when this happened, this was one of the most significant events ever. It led us all down this path of thinking Jesus' return was imminent at any time. We've now gone 8 years after this sign, and for all intents and purposes, there are certain arguments that we can make that we are in a lot of tribulation, if you will. But the world, if you're not into eschatology, and this is something that you don't personally study, then you have no idea that this happened. Your church certainly isn't telling you about it. And again, remember I said, a quarter of the Bible is all about end time events. None of the churches that you're going to, I doubt, are teaching you this, and certainly probably none of them have told you about this Revelation 12 sign that already occurred September 23rd in 2017. I'll also let you in on something else right now. It's really important. This date had to be specific. In other words, this sign had to occur on this exact date. And I'll show you why that is later. But just think about it. Here you have God creates everything. He sets all the stars, everything in motion as he has. And he knew from the beginning that on September 23rd in 2017, this alignment had to occur on that specific date by everything else that was going to come after it, because he was technically using mathematics, and everything needed to fit perfectly. In other words, there was only one day that this could occur. But even if you're still an individual that is studying eschatology and you do claim that this sign occurs quite often, I would argue that when Revelation 12, verse 1 and 2 was written, approximately 90 AD, since that time you can go through a site like Stellarium, and you can verify that this exact alignment has never occurred since these words were written. So if you are of the opinion and have the argument that this sign occurs every 7,000 years, that point is irrelevant. Since this was written, this sign has occurred one time, and it can only occur on September 23rd, 2017, very specifically. Those of you that are not in, if it hasn't hit you already, Those of you that don't study eschatology and end time biblical study is not something that you're used to, understand this. When this sign happened, and because it is written in the book of Revelation in the 12th chapter and the first and second verse, this truth you're right now being kept from understanding. We are in Revelation right now, and we have been for almost 8 years. Now, while everyone was sitting there looking at this sign and marveling over it, and we were discussing it, and we were debating it 8 years ago, and what does this mean, and what's going to happen next, and where's is this event that happened? Is this one of these events that are described in Revelation? We had all types of debates 8 years ago. We were all excited at first, but then all of a sudden, a lot of that excitement started to dwindle down. We started talking less and less and started asking more and more questions. But while all this was going on, in this exact same view in the sky is the Rosetta Star. It's sitting right in front of us. You can't see it right now. I couldn't see it back then, 8 years ago. But events that transpired that I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you and help you understand. God was telegraphing the timing right alongside the Revelation 12 sign. If you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd just like to ask you to just share it with people. I think this is very important information. The timing of this is we don't have a lot of time, and it's really important to get this information out to people. I will try to be as direct and brief and quick with getting the information to you. So if you could help out sharing it with people, I'd really appreciate it. May God bless you. If you go to the British Museum, you will see the actual Rosetta Stone. Many of you have heard about the Rosetta Stone, but for those of you that have heard it but don't exactly know what it is, the Rosetta Stone pictured on the left is an artifact of a tablet that was written in 3 different languages. On the right is an artist's example of what the rest of the tablet may have looked like. But you'll see there's 3 distinct areas of text. The text on the top is written in Egyptian hieroglyphs. The section in the middle is written in Demotic text. Demotic text was the everyday language that the Egyptians used to communicate. And on the bottom is written in ancient Greek. So here we have 3 different languages that are saying the exact same thing. But as you'll notice from the artist's rendering, there are parts of each of the languages that is missing. Obviously, at the top, the Egyptian hieroglyphs is the largest part that is missing, but there is still a significant section there towards the bottom of that top section that is noted. So, since archaeologists spoke fluent ancient Greek, this was just one of the things that was common to them, just as English is common to me and to many of you. The Egyptian Demotic language, they could then understand certain sections of it. Since they had this section of the ancient Greek, they could then compare all the rest of the ancient Greek to the Demotic to understand and fill in that Demotic section that was missing. At that point, they had 100% of the Demotic text. They also had a complete understanding between ancient Greek and the Demotic text that they could check against. Since they had 100% of the Demotic text, they could then take that section and complete ancient Greek. They therefore knew without a doubt that exactly what the top section said, what all 3 sections said, actually. They then could use their ancient Greek to study and understand exactly what the hieroglyphs section of the top that they had left said. This, along with Coptic language, which was kind of this missing link in understanding it, it was kind of the key to unlocking that top section. They then now knew exactly how to read Egyptian hieroglyphs. In other words, the Rosetta Stone opened the door to understanding Egyptian hieroglyphs. What I'm going to show you with the Rosetta Star is things that are known, such as constellations, things that are known, such as the Rosetta Star that I'm going to show you, things that are known, such as time, things that are known, such as the path of this comet in relationship to time, or day counts, or math, if you will. That opened the door to what I'm going to show you is what I believe is timing of a significant number of events in Revelation. Not all, but a significant number. Enough that we can really understand exactly where we are. So this four-step process is what I'm just giving you background on how this came together. So again, with the Rosetta Stone, step one was starting with what was known, ancient Greek. Step two was they compared with other information that they had, the Demotic script. Step three was deciphering with a missing link, this was the Coptic language, that then led to step four, opening the door of understanding Egyptian hieroglyphics. In a similar fashion, it's been a four-step process for me for these past couple of years. Step one was start with what was known, the King James Bible. Step two, compare with the other information that we then had, this comet's path, the constellations, stars, etc. Step three was deciphering missing link, in this case was Strong's Concordance, and you'll see how significant that was, which led to step four, opening the door of understanding of some event timing in Revelation. So this is just again, just another quick visual of how this process, I went through this process in order to come up with what I'm going to show you. Started with the Bible, we started with these other things that are known, the stars and the comet's path, and you add time. From that, you take the missing link of Strong's Concordance, and this opens the door to this document that I'm going to share with you. You can go to rosettastar.com right now. You can download this document. It's a PDF. You can print it out full size. It's like the size of a architectural blueprint. It's 3 feet wide by 2 feet high. I have a copy of this printed out that I go through and I note up on. I have one on my wall. I take a look at it. I'm seeing the timing of things. So now you kind of understand kind of the process of how this has come together. But let me make just a couple other notations here so that you understand something. I want to go back to this concept that no one knows, timing of revelation. This is I'm telling you, your enemy wants you to believe that. But let me try to give you an example or just one final uh, demonstration, if you will, that Jesus wants you to know a lot. Maybe not everything. So what you'll see on this timeline, and I'll explain a little bit about the timeline here in a second, but in the book of Revelation, along Revelation's timeline, there's technically 70 visions that make up the book of Revelation. I've already shown you the first one, which was the Revelation 12 sign. It occurred September 23rd, 2017. That is the first vision in the timeline that opened up the door to Revelation. And that extends technically so the book of Revelation technically extends from 2017 through all eternity. Because in the book of Revelation, right, we have a new heaven and a new earth, and we live with God for eternity. So Revelation spans from 2017 until eternity. So what don't we know? Well, we don't know Jesus' second coming. Again, this is information that we do not know. Jesus himself says, hey, nobody knows, not even me. Only my Father knows this date. So we cannot put any date on when Jesus' second coming is. This again is very, very important. Why? Because this is a battle between God and his adversaries. He's not going to telegraph to his adversaries the day that he's going to return, even if that comes on a feast day or what people think, since his first coming was the springs. He fulfilled so many things on the spring feast, and now on the fall feast he's going to fulfill that. That's too easy, right? Your adversary understands this. So it's not going to be on a specific feast day. It's going to be someday. We don't know. And again, this model maintains that biblical authority that Jesus himself, God himself, has said, no one knows. I take Jesus at his word. No one, right? Nobody knows. But that's just one event out of 70. Now, here's a very, very interesting point. Jesus' second coming is the 60th vision out of 70 visions. You're going to see why, when I explain later, why this is so important. The 60th vision, or this number 6, or number 666, or 6 of incompleteness, God's number 7 of completeness, right? Anything that you see with all of the math that God puts in, all the numbers that he puts in, right? He's sending messages. It's no coincidence that Jesus' second coming, his return, is the 60th vision. This is very, very deliberate. He's telegraphing to his enemy, right? You guys think you have been in control. I'm going to show you. I'm going to destroy you on your own number. Very, very important. But again, this 60th vision, or Jesus' second coming, out of the 70 visions, is only 1.42% of all the visions in Revelation. Before the 60th vision are 59 visions. That's 84.29% of all the visions. After Jesus' return and destroying his enemy once and for all, there's 10 visions, or 14.29% of the visions in Revelation come after Jesus' second coming. So what was Jesus talking about for that 30,000-foot view of the 30 general the general overview that he talked about in Matthew 24? Well, he's talking about these other 59 visions, right? Or basically 84%. He's giving us this information. Might he give us timing of a majority or a certain significant number of these 59 visions or these events? I believe that he has done that. So let me just leave you with this. Again, go to rosettastar.com, download this PDF, and get started on studying it. I'll start working on the next video where I'm going to walk you through step by step exactly how this happened, that I started to come across this. You can start in this upper right section. There's in bold, I know you can't see it right now, but it says start here. You can kind of read about that. You can go to a website where I actually posted some of this original information. But here you will see at the top is this original Nishimura Comet study in 2023 and the timeline associated with it and events that are described above and in all the text and all of that. You can start absorbing this information. But when this happened, in 2023, in late 2023. Many things here that I thought were going to happen didn't manifest, and now basically it continued to push. We're now at the end, or starting to approach the same time period 2 years later in 2025. But as I studied this in 2023, I believe God was just laying the groundwork for me to understand exactly how this worked. Because then what started happening is over the next year, I started developing and just getting more and more as I continued studying and studying. The bottom section of this, or the 2024 Nishimura Comet study, which I titled back then the Rosetta Star Revelation Timing. This is when all of this started really coming together. And it started becoming almost a mathematical impossibility that this model isn't generally putting us, let me just say, just to be thinking about a specific time. So what you'll see here is I've done my best to try and make this a single document that is self-contained. It has these timelines on there, and there's lots of notes that you can look at and you can read. These are also indexed. If you go up here to this top section, you'll see kind of like it's a legend for how you can see some of the symbols. Obviously, I can't write inside the timeline. So what I'm doing is I'm putting information off to the sides and then I'm keying it in on the timeline, and you can see all that. And then this section that you'll see here at the bottom is in green. This is the Hebrew feast day calendar, and the link, or the Rosetta Star, if you will, basically led to aligning the original study and moving it forward in time until it clicked in with the Hebrew feast day calendar. And once that happened, then the whole entire study just exploded open. Again, it started becoming mathematical impossibilities that I talk about in this document that you can read about. That it's just, to me, it's almost a mathematical impossibility that this Nishimura comet does not have something to do with the timing of Revelation events. I'll leave you with that. I thank you for your time. God bless, and I will see you on the next video.